I saw a beam of light everywhere. And then the moment I saw those beam of light, I thought to myself, the rapture is here.
It's like in the corner of her eye, seeing like a little boy or like a little ghost going to one of the rooms.
It's a journey in the self too, because you find your intuition and discernment. But we got to realize that there's duality here.
Maybe 6 or 8 times over the course of a couple of years, I would wake up to this dark figure standing at the foot of my bed.
The green agenda is the obliteration of the human soul. They use children to do that. They can't do it without children. They need pure souls. And you cannot conduct a black mass without pure souls.
When you see that there's darkness, Satan exists, or that there's evil on earth, or that there's actually demons or whatever, I think it's a frequency when we're all together, really.
The light started like flicking off and on. So it was like a toddler, like a 5-year-old or 4-year-old.
At one point it started to gruff. I heard howls. I heard like this puffing sound, and I was petrified. I had no idea what it was.
Well, the demons are here, and they are going to steal the children.
Welcome to the show, everybody. You're listening to Apocalyptic Anomalies, where we shine light on the shadows to unlock all the secrets of our universe. I'm your host, Abner J. Valdez. If you have a crazy experience or a story you want to share on the show, email me at apocalypticanomalies@gmail.com. That's apocalypticanomalies@gmail.com. Or you can hit me up on Instagram or Facebook. Either way works for me. Just get in contact with me. Today on the show, we have Christian coming back on. This is part 2 of a 2-part episode series. Christian comes on to talk to us about his paranormal and UFO experiences. So let's get into the show right now. Sit back and enjoy the show.
I think I may have seen it on a documentary or something, and they were talking about the Ouija board. But yeah, you still have a lot of people that mess with that. Like a lot of these kids, they get into, they think Satanism is no real thing, and they start messing with that stuff. They've got no clue what they're doing. They're doing it for kicks and just, to freak their friends out and that. They don't think that they're real or anything. And they think as, rock and roll Satanists, they're going to, impress everybody by having it and using it. And it's like, well, you don't even know what you're doing. It's just like with people use those things, and they try to talk to loved ones that have passed away. And it's like, well, how do you know you're talking to your loved one? There's ways of going about it, but unless you know how to do that, because even if you're not using the Ouija board, if you're just doing a seance or just sitting around and you're wanting them to come forward and talk to you, you could just as easily be inviting something in to your life that you don't want to be there, that you will regret. But there are ways of safely doing it, but it's not it's just not an easy thing. It's a lot of different things, like your faith, how strong that is, your will, your ability to, I guess your ability to have that connection, like how strong that connection is to be able to call forth something.
Well, to me, from everything you're telling me, right? To me, it almost feels like ever since you were a child, you were kind of chosen for this, like kind of like God's chosen people. That's why, in my opinion, I think you were the one that was lighting up.
Well,
and glowing.
And
it's like out of all those people there, you were the one glowing.
It's, I don't know. It's funny you bring it up because in the last few years, I have had people tell me several times that like they do palm reading and stuff like that, and they always want to look at my palm and try to get a reading. and they just tell me they can't get one off of me. They're like, whatever walls you've built up are so strong, I just can't get anything from you.
It almost seems like there's a higher power involved in all this.
Well,
it's like you're seeing these things
right,
for a
and
reason, you know?
like as far as like the glowing in the dark, I had a friend of mine recently. They were talking to me about it, and they asked me if I thought that being as my first name is Christian, if that wasn't like a big target on my back throughout my life, and I've just been able to sense when things are around, or have like a sense of if I'm alone or not, or if something's trying to come through. If at that specific point, if I wasn't the one that was actually like it wasn't like sunlight or any kind of specific light. It was literally my aura that was shining at that point. They asked me if I felt like I was threatened or in danger or anything. I was like, no, not really. I mean, I'm in a room full of how many people, plus a couple of my friends. 3 of my friends were in the group, and I didn't feel like that at all. And but they said that, to them it sounded like it was my aura, and not just a random glowing in the dark type thing. It just it was like a fight or flight response, or the way they described it. But I have never had it happen before or since. So it's just one of those weird things that I just can't explain, that I've experienced along with some of the other stuff. So,
and it almost feels too like with what you were saying, all these experiences that you've been, experiencing and encountering in your life, it's almost like you're chosen. God has chosen you, right? And it almost feels like these things try to target you,
could be,
to put fear in you. And then you mentioned at one point, you said you kind of stopped being so scared about it, and you kind of like stood up for yourself in a way. Like, all right, if something's behind me, I don't like that.
Well, and the thing is, to be all honestly, I really thought somebody was in there. I didn't think I was talking to thin air. I really was expecting somebody to go, okay, didn't mean to really, get you that scared or whatever. That just didn't happen. And yeah, that whole incident, it had its effect on me, but I don't go into that room, and there's a few people that they won't even go to the building anymore. Like, we would have a show, and they used to come to our shows all the time. They stopped doing it. They're like, you record it for me, and I'll watch it on your disc or something. But yeah, I'm not coming to that. I'm not coming in there anymore. So, if it was just me that had noticed that, I probably wouldn't bother saying anything to anybody, because I would think that I had just imagined it. But being as I was the last one in the room, I had there were people from another investigation group from Alton that was down. They were with us, and another group from St. Louis, and a couple of them were with our group as well. So it was various people, and a friend of mine had his video camera running on night vision to record if anything happened. But he said before anything like that started happening, that the battery went dead, and it was a full battery. I've experienced that I don't know how many times. Phones, other equipment, video cameras and stuff. That's another thing that comes up almost consistently with places. Dakota, are you all right? I got my dog in the car with me. This is the quietest place I could be.
That's okay.
But
don't worry about it, man.
It just one of the last investigations that we did there. We would do them if there was nothing else going on, and just for shits and giggles, just have something to do. And so we were doing it, and we had enough that we all separated into 3 groups, and our group was up on the second floor ballroom, and like I said, it's a 100-year-old building. It's got old wood floors, and so there's a lot of creaking and everything when you're walking. And Dakota.
Getting back to what we were talking about, because you were talking about kind of like the history of the theater. That was actually one of my questions here. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of the theater? Did it have any hauntings? Was it haunted at all?
The building was built in 1917. Back then, the town was really a little bit more than a miner's town. There really wasn't a whole lot around at that time, but they needed a place to hold all their meetings. So it was used as a meeting hall or union hall. It was used as for entertainment, like they would have like vaudeville shows, plays there that would come through. They would have bands play and stuff like that. And really, as far as like the miners, they all chipped in a certain a little bit of their check, which at the time would have been I think it was like a quarter or something like that. That time, that was probably a lot. But they all chipped in until it got built and finished. And so it was a place for the miners and to conduct business and to get their entertainment and stuff. When I was a kid growing up, it was used as a movie theater. We used to go there all the time, and periodically they'll still like show Rocky Horror Picture Show or something like that. Usually that's all that really gets shown anymore, but every once in a while they might show something out of a, for shits and giggles, just to do something different. Now, as far as the history, that's about as far as I know about the history. Friends of mine, they're better versed on all that, but that's pretty much the gist of it. Now, when I was growing up, it was a creepy building to begin with. Like the men's room, you have to go down a flight of steps, and it puts you right into the bathroom. And when I was growing up, there was a hole knocked out, like a little, I don't know, about like this, out of the corner of one of the little frame sections. And it wasn't a window or anything. It was just a frame section that they had like as decoration. And if you look through, they used it for storage. So like they would have a bunch of boxes and junk. And the thing that creeped out all the kids was there was a mannequin that was always in there, and it always seemed to be looking at that hole in the wall. But it just always was creepy, nobody wanted to go down there alone, there were times we'd go down there and the lights would go out, just no reason for it. They would just go out. We'd hightail it up to run our asses off up the steps and, go back to watching the movie and whatever. But in the 80s, they stopped doing much of anything there. I know in the 90s, they periodically would do plays there and stuff, but I didn't really start doing anything there until 2000. And, I started hearing like everybody's stories about the place and how things were, their experiences and everything. But No, I just was thinking about something else that I was going to say earlier, and I was trying to remember it. But they, they
That's
all
okay.
had their own things. Like my best friend that passed away during a rehearsal. They were all up on the second floor, and him and another friend in the show were sitting in the auditorium talking, and they saw. I mean, she said if he wasn't sitting right next to her, she would have just thought it was Jeff. And it walked down, it crossed over in front of in front of the front row, and then went back up. And other people saw it when they were coming down the steps because they thought it was him, and even said hi to him. And he didn't respond, so they just thought he was deep in thought. And then Jeff went to go catch up to it, and by time he got up to the person that had just passed it, it was gone. So sometime between the time the one guy said hi to him, thinking it was him, and Jeff walking up, running up to him, it was gone. So, and that was a weird experience. That was something that I think it was a similar situation that happened in the building next door with one of the guys that worked in the liquor store, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen in the theater. I know that like I said, I've seen apparitions like stand up like they were kneeling down, tying their shoe, stood up, and then walked up the aisle to the back and just vanish, just slowly, just vanish. Now there were two brothers that were miners there, Alfred and Albert. For years, people would have stuff happen, like ladders would get knocked over if there was work being done. Tools would turn up missing. They'd set it down, go to, plug in another tool, and turn around and the first one's gone. Just, things like that. I mean, they always showed back up, but just things like that, like trying to scare people away. People would see someone would be standing in the third floor window when there's not supposed to be anybody in the building. They figured out that it was because on the plaque they had attributed the name of one brother as being one of the main people that helped get the building built to his brother, and they had a jealous rivalry, and so that was causing him to act out. Well, they changed the name on the plaque, and all that kind of settled down. Now it's just more stuff of, you might see, like I said, the apparition. You might see the shadow. You might see, you might hear the seats go down, like somebody sitting or standing up, getting up out of them. Various sounds, running down the aisle, causing everybody to look to see who it is, and nobody's there. Voices, just all kinds of different things, but nothing to where, like threatening or ominous or anything like that. Like, I know when we've been at the beginning of a rehearsal waiting for everybody to show up, get there a little early, they'd have the music playing on the sound system, and just kind of working on the sound system and making sure everything's working properly and set up properly. And um, about 10, 15 minutes later, one of the speakers will go out, or there'll be a lot of static. And as they walk up, and as soon as they get up to the within arm's reach of the soundboard, everything's working fine again. So
it almost feels like this theater is kind of like a paranormal hotspot.
It is.
What are your thoughts on
Collinsville's got a lot going on in it. Like I said, it's an old miners town. There's a lot of houses and buildings all up and down Main Street around the theater. It's Miners Theater. You could probably look it up online, Miners Theater. I know I've got a page on Facebook, but I haven't used it in a while. It's Save Miners Theater. And you can post questions there, and any questions that you need answered, somebody will be able to answer for you. But it just seems like every building all up and down Main Street, there's some kind of a story to it with it. And it's like that with a lot of the houses on that end of town as well. There's been houses that have been converted into apartments. Well, they're not houses, like buildings. They've been converted into apartments, and people. Every once in a while, you hear somebody talking about, oh, so and so lives in such and such building, and they had this happen, or things like that. Years ago, like 2001 or 2, these friends of mine that had a theater, a ghost hunting group, they were featured on Scariest Places on Earth. And
can I stop you there? I just want to know the inception of this paranormal investigation group. How did it all come together?
Well, they already had that started before I even started doing theater with them. It was something that a bunch of them got together, that they all had similar interests. Some of them didn't really believe in any of it, but like the one guy, he didn't really believe in any of it, but he liked tinkering and making some of the equipment. Like he helped home make the motion sensors and some of the microphones so that they would pick up EVPs easier. Like it would pick up more in the range that the EVPs would be in. Yeah, so they didn't have to, when they played it back, they didn't have to turn the sound all the way up or mess with the adjustments or anything. Just things like that. He liked messing with the tech part of it. Some of the others, they didn't really believe in it, but they liked the idea of hanging out and doing stuff, and they figured if they ever encountered anything, then all the better. But they had been doing it for a couple of years before I ever got along. But I know when they were on this show because they had investigated a house in Collinsville that the mother contacted them, and she was at her wit's end. She was a single mother, and her daughter was constantly being attacked. Always being scratched and bit. And I mean, they would leave, they never saw anything, but like you could see the scratch marks and the bite marks and that. And so they went and checked it out and everything. And they had a few things that happened, but nothing really all that impressive. But they knew a guy that could come out and bless the house. And so he came out and blessed them and blessed the house. And that seemed to help until she was able to move out. She moved in just didn't have anything to do with that area of town anymore. I don't know if she moved out of town or if she just moved to the other end of town. But that was interesting too, because she was a guest when we had the open investigations, like they had, like when I glowed in the dark, that was on a Saturday, so that was the second day of it. And this lady was there that Friday. They had Troy Taylor and they had her and somebody else, but she was. We watched that episode, or that part of that episode, and then she got up and answered questions and did a little Q&A with everybody. And yeah, she was scared. She didn't really believe any of that stuff either until it started happening, and she just had nothing. She just couldn't explain it, because she could sit there and watch scratches and bite marks appear on her daughter's arm or back, and nothing's there. So she just was like at her wit's end and didn't know what to do. And they helped her out, but then people started moving away, and so we weren't really getting together and doing that as often. And then it became where we had other people that came in and just ended up calling us. We changed the name to a different group, and but we did the same stuff. And it's just been lately we haven't done anything because of everybody's just coming and going. Everybody's having kids, getting married, moving out of town. And I've had health issues where 2010 I broke my back. I've got really bad severe arthritis and stuff like that, so I wasn't able to get out as much. But we keep talking about, we want to do it. We want to get back into doing that again, and being more active with it. But it's just everybody's schedules just gotta mesh, and it just hasn't been happening. So I know when like I lived with my brother when I was going through my divorce, and I was waiting for a house because friends of mine were moving out of a house, and I was going to rent it from them. And I just had to wait for them to get everything out and then clean it up and everything. So while I was doing that, I was living with my brother in his basement. I never got, I never had any sensation that there was anything going on there or anything weird or whatever, but he would call me up just out of the blue. Like I'd be over in Collinsville, and he's like asking me if I've ever noticed anything over at his house. And I'm like, well, like what? And he goes, well, like, have you ever seen the trash bag move 6 inches across the floor? I'm like, what, the wind blow it or something? He goes, no, a full trash bag. I was like, no, of course not. I would have said something if I did. And he was like, okay. He goes, I may not be here when you get back, but when you get back, just let me know and I'll come back. He goes, I'm just not going to stay here alone. And, I kind of like laugh because like he's not one to get spooked by that type of thing, but when it's in your own house, it's a completely different thing. But, he, oh yeah. Yeah.
Hey,
and
you gotta live there.
It's like all my other friends that do this stuff. They've never had it going on in their house, so they don't know what it's like to live in that kind of situation. And there's been times they've made little comments, not anything snide or anything, but just, little comments. And I'm like, you don't understand. If you're not having to live in it, it's not the same thing. If you have to live in it and you don't have control over it and you never know when it's going to happen, it's a whole different ball game. But when you're over here on an investigation and you want it to happen, well, that's altogether different. When I was still married in that, sometimes my wife would leave for work before I did. And it just so happened this day I was off, and she left for work. I got the kids off to the bus. I laid back down in bed and went back to sleep. And I got woke up by, it felt like somebody dragging their fingers, like their fingertips, along the back of my legs. And I'm thinking, in my mind, like I woke up and I'm thinking, I'm like, what? She's still here? You know, she's got to. I'm like, aren't you supposed to be at? And I rolled over and there's nobody there. But I was fully awake. I mean, I was completely awake when I felt it. And then, you know, it just all kinds of different things I've experienced, and it's mainly stuff like that. But every once in a while, it would be something like in the reflection of the computer screen while it's turned off. I see somebody run down the hall. You know, it's the size of a kid. I know it's a kid, and I hear them running, and I hear the door beep, beep, beep. And when I get up to go look, it's nobody's there. You know, hearing glass break.
In your opinion, do you think a lot of these experiences and encounters that you've been having, are they there to try to cause fear to you?
You know, I really have no idea. I really don't. I mean, ever since I've been little, I have been afraid of the dark. You know, I always had to, I was always afraid to go to sleep because I was always afraid of having a nightmare, because like I said, I would have night terrors to where I would wake up, but I would still be dreaming. It would be like I was walking in my sleep, still having the nightmare. It used to really scare the hell out of my dad. He just had no idea how to deal with it. It really freaked him out, but you know, and it's not like I was a scaredy cat kid or anything, but it was just like the dark. And really it was just the dark because you couldn't see what was in there. And I didn't like that. And that's what a lot of the whole paranormal stuff always scared about me, is that, you know, like if it's a ghost or whatever, you're not always going to know what it is because you can't see it. You're not always going to be able to see it. You might hear it, you might feel it. And it was the same way with the disembodied voices or sounds, and that is, you know, somebody's there making the noise, talking or laughing, sighing, whatever, but you can't see anybody. You know, you hear it, you can tell where it's coming from. You're looking in that direction. There's nobody there. You know, something just popped in my head that I was going to say that after I got done saying that, and I forgot about it. It'll come back to me. But it's like, you know, like people will say, oh, so you believe in ghosts? Well, you know, ghosts, spirits, honestly, I don't know what they are. I don't know what to call them. As far as, you know, giving them a name or a designation, but it's something. And that's the only thing I can say. It's something. It's not the mind playing tricks on you. It's not a situation where you, like I said, at first you might think, am I going crazy? But it's just the same as if you watch TV and on the news, you see a yellow bus pass behind the reporter. You know it was a yellow bus. You saw it. You don't have to be told that, you know, was that real? Was that fake? You know that it was real. It's just one of those type of situations. And see if you can see me better this way. So it's just one of those situations where if you experience it, you'll know if it's your imagination or not. That's the only way I've ever been able to explain it to anybody. It doesn't seem to help them understand, but when and if they experience something like that, it will. It'll help them know that what they're that they're not imagining stuff. I mean, it's like, okay, one of the things that always goes on at the theater that has gone on for as long as I've ever been going is the fact that you could be just sitting there or walking, and all of a sudden you smell either cigar smoke or lilac. Now they've attributed the lilac to one of the actresses from the beginning of the theater's days. I always forget about her for some reason, but she usually stays up in the third floor dressing room. And that's usually where she's seen. But, I haven't seen her. I haven't had any experience with her, but quite a few other people have. Apparently she was actually murdered at the theater. She was having an affair with somebody, a married man, and she ended up getting pregnant, and he supposedly pushed her down the steps, hoping to get rid of the baby, but it ended up killing her. It ended up breaking her neck. I don't know if that was ever proved or if it was just rumor, but somehow when they were doing the history of the theater, they figured it out, or they found out about it. So that's kind of the going story on her. I've tried, like when I did, like I wrote and directed a live horror show there, 2002 and 2005. And when we did it, we periodically would have stuff happen. Somebody that was in the cast that wasn't normally around the building would come out and from like the bathroom or come from the second floor or whatever and say that they had whatever experience. But my nephews would see the one of the miners. He would look over and go, "Who's that guy? Who's that guy?" And my brother's just kind of looking over, and he's going, "You don't see anybody over there, do you?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm gonna take the boys home." And good show, by the way, And then they'd end up leaving, but so I mean, like things like that always went on. They did get one EVP that I've heard that we used to have an elderly gentleman that would do shows with us. His name was Owen, and this EVP, they said, "Who are you?" They were asking who was there, and it said, "It's me, it's Owen," and it's clear as day. Like, why aren't you like, why aren't you sharing this with people? Like Troy Taylor or whoever and that. And they're like, "No, it's too clear that they'll think that we've faked it. It's too good." And I'm like, "Yeah, I can see that, but if that's what it is, then that's what it is. It's his voice. And this is several years after he had passed away. I don't know. I don't seem to have experienced a whole lot more after that. I mean, there's stuff I'm forgetting
right there,
but
Christian.
I mean, that's just the gist of it. That's what I meant by.
It's okay.
I haven't had anything. No Bigfoot, no Dogman, No cryptids, nothing like that. I did see a UFO. I saw a UFO when I was a kid living in Maryville, which is just about 30 minutes down the road from me right now. I saw it in the sky. It was a blinking light, and then it just in an instant it was gone. I mean, you saw it moving. It didn't like just turn off. It would just, you saw it moving up and away, but it just moved so fast. It was like in the blink of an eye, it was gone. The other time was about 7 years ago. I was taking my sister to work, and we were going down the road, and I kept seeing this flashing, different colored flashing lights, just real fast flashing, faster than what you see with a helicopter. And it was heading over towards St. Louis, and it was moving fast. And I even rolled down the window, and you couldn't hear anything. It was just it would go red, yellow, blue, and it was just real fast. Almost like flashing lights you'd see on a TV show, like where they warn you about they could induce a seizure, like that type of fast. When I had my apartment in St. Louis, I didn't have any issues. I didn't experience anything over there. When I lived in Highland, I didn't have any experiences in my apartment, or when I ended up having to move in with my friend that passed away, with him and his family, and it didn't have anything happen there. And when I had my apartment in Collinsville, I didn't have any issues. Can you still hear me? Okay. Yeah, because my earpiece just died. But
yeah.
No, when I
Awesome.
when I was living in Collinsville, I was still having experiences at other places and that, but not at home. So I was just glad of that, because I wouldn't have wanted to mess with any of that. I've had people come right up to me, complete strangers, and tell me that, like what you said, God's got plans for you. He's not done with you. That, you're a good soul, and that, don't stray, and and then I've also had people come right up to me and just flat out tell me that, keep losing my train of thought. They just, like, they consider themselves sensitives, and they just end up saying, well, I can't, I'm not getting I can't pick anything up from you, or I can't read you. Whatever walls you've put up are strong, and I've had to, I know when, about 7 years ago, I dropped my sister off at her job. That wasn't even lightning, and I don't even know where it came from. That was weird. But I dropped her off.
Wow.
And I, while I was, she always turns around and waved to me, so it let me know she's all right. So I waved to her, and as I waved to her, I look over to the passenger seat, because a car pulled up next to me, and I see my friend there. And only thing I end up getting out of that is I just hear his voice saying, "Be careful, they're not done with you." Whatever that meant, I have no clue. I haven't been able to figure that out. I've been trying to, but I haven't been able to. So I'm not sure. But, I still have weird things happen. It's just not as often. And it's partly because I'm never around. I don't really go anywhere that much. And usually if I go anywhere, I'm out in public. I'm not like going over to friends or going to the Miners Theater or anything like that. It's just maybe going to the movie theater or out to eat or something. So usually when we're around that big enough of a group, I don't usually get anything. But you know, I mean, it still comes through every now and again. You know, I would love to see it. Well, let's put it this way: I would love to see a clear picture of a dog man. I don't know if I'd actually want to see one. I'd also like to see a Bigfoot. I'd like to see a Loch Ness monster if it's real. Not sure about some of the other stuff, but you know, I find all that stuff fascinating. Even the giant spiders and that. I hate spiders. I'm definitely afraid of them, but I just think it's fascinating to think that there could be something like that in the jungles and stuff that just haven't been found. But you know, who knows?
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you there. There's definitely a lot of mysteries in this world that, you know, a lot of people experience, and there's a lot of people that don't believe, but I'm definitely on the side that believes in all these things that they do exist. So I'm definitely with you on that one, man.
You know, did you have any other questions or anything, or you know, maybe something will spark a memory that I'm forgetting, or?
So I basically wanted to wind down the show here and just kind of let you give an input on anything, any final words or any final thoughts here for the audience that you might want to share, or maybe some advice if someone encounters something like this.
For one,
what can you say to them?
It's probably not a good idea to go looking for a lot of this stuff. You know, stay away from Ouija boards, you know, things that are supposed to have any kind of magical power to them, like the Encyclopedia of Demonology and Witchcraft and all that stuff. You know, because if you really aren't ready or mentally prepared to deal with any consequences from dealing with any of this stuff, you really want to steer clear of it. Now, if you just happen to experience the stuff, like, you know, you happen to live in a house that's haunted, or you happen to be somewhere that end up being you have experiences, you know, just try not to freak out, try not to invite it along. Like, don't ever say, you know, come to me, come get me. Don't offer to be a vessel. Don't offer to let it speak through you. You know, things like that should be left. It's like it's lightning and it's just not going anywhere. It's just above. But, you know, things like that, you know,
wow.
It's, you know, it's like one time we were doing a thing, and a friend of one of the people that are in the paranormal group, they had her along, and she's a self-proclaimed witch, or Wiccan, I should say. But yet she plays with Ouija boards. She messes around with black magic, or just magic and everything. And well, this night she was decided she was going to bring it was either the Ouija board or an incantation and open a portal. But then it took her almost 4 hours to close it. And I wasn't told that they were doing that. And I had asked, well, why is she still down there? You know, why isn't she up here with everybody else? And then that's when they just kind of let me know, or they had to admit that she was down there doing that. And, you know, you might think you know what you're doing, but you're really not. You're really not. That's not stuff that's meant for people to know. I honestly believe that. I don't think it's stuff that's meant for human beings to know or be able to deal with. I think it's stuff it's either something that's going to just happen to you, that you're in the right place at the right time, or you're doing it to yourself and you're doing it out of
out of ignorance because you just have no clue just how bad things can get. It could be, and things always start off slow. They always start off at small things and just build up always. And that's what was my experience. Was it started off with small things and it just kept escalating from there. And then it would escalate to a certain point and then it would switch to doing something else. When I was a kid, first noticing stuff moving on their own. Then when it got to a point where I was actually I knew I was seeing the stuff move, then it would go over to sounds, knocks, doors opening and closing, things like that. And then it just got to a point to where I was seeing apparitions and shadow people, shadow figures, whatever you want to call them, and then glowing in the dark. But you don't ever want to, like, the only thing you really want to have any tool is a cross. If you feel you're being pestered by something, have your house blessed. Get a couple crucifixes, have them blessed by someone of the cloth, and just keep them in your house. That's the best way I can think of, just to deal with it. If it's anything more than that, it's going to be hard for somebody to take you seriously, because like even the Catholic Church, they're fully aware of exorcisms and stuff like that and doing them, but they don't like to authorize them. Even if you've got all the proof in the world, it's going to take something extraordinary for them to authorize for you to have an exorcism, whether it's you're exorcising the home or and you don't want to invite anything into yourself or into your home. If you hear 3 knocks, don't just go and open the door. Kind of look out the window, and if you don't see anybody, don't open it. That happened here when I first moved in. Heard the door knock 3 times. I opened the door, or I looked out the window first, didn't see anybody. I opened the door thinking it might have been somebody in one of the neighbors here, but at one of their houses, but there was nobody outside. So it's just one of those things. I got a lot of my knowledge from watching documentaries, reading, and like talking to people that just know this type of stuff, like Troy Taylor, from Illinois. He knows all about the different stuff around here in Southern Illinois, mostly Alton. He does a lot of stuff out of Alton. But I've asked him questions. I've asked, if you're on listening to somebody on a podcast or a radio show, and it's somebody that's like they're the Troy Taylor type, ask them questions. Call into the show, ask them questions. Check with them, see if they might have any idea of how you can deal with your situation or how you can avoid a situation. I know a lot of people, like they talk to their dead relatives or friends and stuff. But you don't really know if it's them or not. For all you know, it's something else playing as them. If you're going to do something like that, then just say that you only give the ability to that person and that person alone. Nobody imitating them are allowed to come forward. Only that individual you're wanting to speak to. And when you're done, you tell them goodbye, I'm done, or whatever. But, as far as like that's about the only thing that you could really do, like invoke the name of God and say that in the name of God that name of Jesus Christ, I want to speak to so-and-so and only so-and-so. And by the name of Jesus Christ, I am not allowing anybody but this individual to come forth and speak to me, not through me, but to me. And, even that, you're taking a chance, but at least, if your faith is strong, then, it's better than just going in with, nothing, but never try to invoke anything. That's the way I've always been. I don't ask anyone to come forward. I don't ask anyone to make themselves known. I don't ask anybody to answer any questions or anything. If you feel like you really have to talk to somebody, that person, or like, say if it's your mother that's passed away, or your grandparents or brother or whatever, family, friends, whatever, just talk to them like you would normally. Don't like call them forth like you're making a phone call or something, or, just start talking to them like you normally would. They'll hear. You may not hear the answer, but, they'll hear you. And that's about the only thing that I ever do. I don't ever call anything forth, because you really, maybe I've seen too many movies or whatever, but, you really are taking a chance when you're doing that, because you're giving power over to something else that, could twist the boundaries of that on what what you're wanting it to do, to what it's going to do, what it wants to do. So you just got to be careful.
Yeah, that's definitely some strong and solid advice right there. Very wise advice. So, Christian, thank you so much for being a guest on Apocalyptic Anomalies.
Sure.
Thank you for coming forward and sharing your experiences with me and the audience. Very interesting stuff there. If you ever feel like you come across other experiences or other encounters, please don't be a stranger and reach out to me.
Sure.
And we can have you back on the show for a reoccurring guest. Thank you so much for watching the show, everybody. Thank you so much, Christian, for being a guest on Apocalyptic Anomalies. God bless everybody. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. And if you guys haven't checked out part 1 of this 2-part episode series, make sure you guys check it out. Christian has some very interesting experiences that I think you guys might enjoy. So that's it for this episode, guys. And remember to share the show, because that's the way that this podcast will grow. Until next time, everyone, stay safe, stay blessed, and remember to innovate honesty and always illuminate the truth. Bye.